to this explainer. Look, we've all been there. You know the exact feeling, right? You read something absolutely fascinating, you completely understand it in the moment, you nod along, but then a few days later, when you actually need to recall it under pressure, your mind just goes entirely blank. Well, today, we're diving deep into exactly why our brains betray us like this. But more importantly, we're going to explore a very specific, proven 4-step system that solves this problem for good. To really understand the problem we're facing, let's kick things off with a story from CEO and investor Sandeep Swadia. Picture this. Back when he was working on Wall Street, he was on a super high-stakes call with a massive hedge fund client. Sandeep had spent hours building this wildly complex, dense spreadsheet model. He literally knew the data inside and out. But then, out of nowhere, the client asked for his opinion on a broader issue related to the model. And Sandeep, he completely froze. I mean, deer in the headlights frozen. A full agonizing minute of dead silence ticked by until the client finally asked, "Hello, what's going on?" Sandeep panicked so hard, he just hung up the phone. He had built the model, sure, but he hadn't mastered the story yet. Okay, so what exactly happened there? That brutally embarrassing freeze Sandeep experienced is actually caused by a very specific cognitive trap. It's called the Fluency Illusion. Basically, it's the false perception of instant clarity. When answers come to us easily and instantly, our brains send this false glowing signal that we've actually learned the material. And honestly, in today's era of instant AI-generated answers and perfectly polished summaries, this illusion is more dangerous than ever. We're constantly mistaking borrowed fluency for actual foundational knowledge. Now, what's genuinely fascinating here is the stark distinction between these two mental states. Recognizing information and actually remembering it. They are not cousins. They are completely different mental events. Recognizing feels incredibly smooth, but at the end of the day, it's just borrowed fluency. Remembering, on the other hand, requires you to actively pull information from deep within your own durable memory, especially when the pressure is on. Think of it like this. It's a pretty powerful analogy, actually. Recognizing is just like looking at a page full of musical notes. You can see them, you know what they are, you get the vibe. But just because you have the notes sitting in front of you doesn't mean you can actually play the music on your own. Remembering is the act of sitting down at the piano and making the music happen yourself. To really get why this happens, we kind of have to time travel back to the 1880s. This researcher named Hermann Ebbinghaus ran these groundbreaking memory experiments, and he discovered something amazing. Forgetting isn't a flaw in our brains. It's actually the default feature. Our brains aren't broken when we forget things. They're literally designed to rapidly discard unrepeated information. Why? To avoid cognitive overload and, well, to help us survive. And let me tell you, the drop-off is absolutely brutal. 70%. Yep, you heard that right. Roughly 70% of what you learn today will completely disappear within 24 hours. So unless you actively intervene, the vast majority of your shiny new knowledge, poof, it'll be gone by tomorrow morning. Which, thankfully, brings us to the solution. Because forgetting is our brain's default mode, we need a deliberate, active system to counteract it. We need what's called the TRAP framework. That stands for test, retain, associate, perform. Let's use these 4 steps as our ultimate roadmap to mastering memory. All right, step 1, test. There's this researcher at UCLA, Robert Bjork, who spent decades studying durable memory, and he found something super counterintuitive. He discovered that ease and retention actually move in completely opposite directions. He coined this brilliant term, desirable difficulties. Basically, the harder your brain has to sweat to pull an idea out of memory, the stronger that memory becomes afterward. There's a study published in Psychological Science that just nails this point perfectly. They took 2 groups of people. Both spent the exact same amount of time with the same material. But get this, one group was tested on it, while the other just passively reread it. Fast forward a week later, and the testing group retained a massive 80% of the info. The read-in group, they held on to a measly 34%. So testing isn't just how you check your memory, it's literally the mechanism that builds it. So here is your immediate action item for step 1. Next time you learn something new, do not just reread it. Close the source. Look away. Say it out loud to the wall, totally cold. Seriously, if you can't recall it without looking, you just don't own that knowledge yet. Okay, moving right along to step 2, retain. Because getting it right today means absolutely nothing if it's completely gone by tomorrow, right? Martin Schneider, who's an MIT grad, points out that when it comes to memory, timing is literally the whole game. It's a classic Goldilocks problem. If you review the information too soon, your brain doesn't have to work hard at all, which means no desirable difficulty and 0 durable memory is built. But if you wait way too long, the memory has decayed so much that you're essentially rebuilding the house from rubble.
This is exactly why last-minute cramming completely fails you in the long run. And honestly, almost nobody can hit that perfect sweet spot memory window just by relying on instincts alone.
And that is exactly where technology steps in to save the day. Martin Schneider's MIT-founded startup Remnote uses this concept called spaced repetition to totally hack the forgetting curve. It basically lets you turn your notes into automated flashcards. Then the AI tracks precisely when your brain is on the absolute verge of forgetting, and it serves that card up at the exact right moment. You literally don't have to remember when to remember. The tool automates the whole timing process for you.
All right, now for step 3. Associate. Getting the information to stick is great, obviously, but a graveyard of isolated, disconnected ideas is still going to leave you totally exposed in a high-pressure public meeting. If you haven't connected the dots in private, you won't be able to retrieve them when the heat is on. See, your memory is not some isolated filing cabinet where facts just sit around in neat little alphabetical folders. It's a highly connected, messy web. These days, we spend way too much time over-organizing our digital notes with all these static tags and folders, but we spend almost zero time actually connecting those ideas inside our own heads. True, durable memory happens when every connection acts as a brand new road back to the concept.
So your action item here is to start paving those roads. Every single time you learn a concept worth keeping, pause and ask yourself, what does this remind me of? For example, say you're trying to wrap your head around the economic concept of opportunity cost. Try associating it with looking at a dinner menu. Every time you order a specific dish, you are actively deciding not to eat everything else on that menu. Boom, that's opportunity cost. You gotta tie the complex stuff to the familiar stuff. And this is exactly how the absolute experts do it. Cognitive studies estimate that chess grandmasters compress and internalize up to 50,000 to 100,000 board patterns. That's insane, right? But they aren't memorizing isolated individual pieces on a board. They are connecting thousands of experiences into one highly usable network. The true power isn't in your storage capacity, it's all in the linkage. Finally, we reach the last piece of the puzzle. Step 4, perform. Over at MIT, they have this fascinating rule during their January independent activities period. They actually pause all formal classes, and the one strict rule is that students must build something real using what they've learned. It doesn't matter what department they partner with, they just have to take the knowledge off the page and apply it. So why is this real-world application so crucial right now? Well, because in the AI era, fluency and sounding intelligent, that stuff is flowing for free. What is absolutely not free is human experience. The judgment, the grit, the resilience that comes from the real-world friction of trying, failing, and rebuilding from scratch. An unformed mind has to be forged through actual action. We really have to stop viewing our brains as a fixed photograph that just snaps an image of a text and saves it. Your mind is a sculpture. It gets strengthened, shaped, and refined over time, one connection and one real-world application at a time. Think about it like this. Flashback to the year 1500. There was this defective, rejected block of marble just sitting there, completely abandoned. All the master sculptors thought it was utterly worthless. But a year later, a 26-year-old artist with absolutely no power tools saw something different in that rock. He spent 3 grueling, exhausting years chipping away at it, and he birthed a 17-foot masterpiece, Michelangelo's David. So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that the value was never in the stone itself. Modern information, whether you're getting it from an AI, a textbook, or an online course, is just raw marble. It's defective and pretty much useless on its own. You have to step up and do the hard work of testing, retaining, associating, and performing to actually carve that raw info into true mastery. Which leaves us with this final big question. What are you going to choose to sculpt with your raw information today? The chisel is literally in your hands. Oh, and by the way, if you want to put this framework to the test right now, the Remnote team actually put together a quick test on the TRAP method we just talked about. You can find their link in the original source material to test yourself cold, and you can even earn a free trial. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you next time.